Hello everyone, welcome to Dharana Yoga. So, Patanjali, one of the main authors of yoga, at least the one that we consider today, wrote the Yoga Sutras. He wrote these they were actually passed from verbally, they weren't really written until later, but the Yoga Sutras are a system to find freedom from the mind. One of his main things that he says there, it's the second sutra, he says, Yoga's citta vrtti nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. It's where our monkey mind stops going all over the place. It's really when we are the masters of the mind and not the mind the master of us. When we say the mind is the master of us, the question is, who are we that the mind is mastering? That's an answer I won't be able to give you verbally. You'll have to kind of work on experiencing it. And that's really the practice of meditation. It's to find out who you really are. You can find out who you really are once you go beyond your thinking mind. Once your citta is no longer in its active state, it's no longer in its place of being associated with all nature, with everything around it. When I wanted to go to a Zen retreat, this was many, many years ago, I was practicing for a while at the Zen center. The first thing when they interviewed me was, why do you want to come? And the real thing I think they wanted to hear from me was that I was seeking to understand better who I am, who I really am, not who I think I am or who my identity is, or who I talk about. And that really was what I was curious, because I realized that my thoughts are ever changing, who I think I am is ever changing. And I realized that this thinking person that I thought I am is not really who I am, but there's got to be something else beyond that. Going back to Patanjali says, yeah, that's true. Your mind gives you many, many obstacles, and we'll look at the obstacles in different times, different videos that I'll share with you. But he says, I've got a system for you, and it's an eightfold system. We'll look at the end part. We'll look at the last three parts at Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. Dharana is concentration, Dhyana, meditation, Samadhi, total absorption, or some people call it bliss. You can think of it as bliss, but it's a place where even bliss is not really appropriate because there's nobody to be blissful. It's a state of complete absorption where the sense of self is no longer there, so there's nobody to be blissful. But the reason it's called bliss many times is because in that state, there's also nobody to worry. There's nobody to fear, nobody to get angry. So it's really an amazing state to be in. It's a state of consciousness beyond our constantly thinking mind. Going back one step, we go to the meditation part. And in the meditation part, we are in a space that's leading to samadhi. We can't really control those two. We just have to come to the place of sitting, of practicing meditation, and the rest will eventually happen on its own. The first step of meditation is actually one step forward, it's one step prior, and that's the step of concentration, of the Dharana. Right? And in this state, we focus. Many traditional yoga practices focus on a deity. They choose something that they really believe is the representation of goodness, of power, of something they wish they were. Okay? You may decide that your deity is somebody you love, or an inspirational teacher, or flower. Okay? The idea is, though, to find something that you can always come back to, an image that you look at over and over and over again, so much that eventually you can carry it inside you with your eyes closed. You can see it so clearly that one day you're not really seeing it, but you drop into this image, and the experience is no longer of you observing the image, but just the image being there. In Zen tradition, we focus on the breath, and maybe at first we count the breath because it's much easier. The mind is thinking, but on one thing. Later on, the counting disappears and we just follow the breath until eventually, again, the breath vanishes. There's just breathing. There's no more observing of the breath, and we move on to further states. But really what matters is that we take it step by step and don't try to pretend like we're in a stage that's further than where we are now. So we start with concentration. We start with Dharana. And for me, my practice for years was the breath. I was a Zen student for many years, and so that's what I like. I like it because it's also with me always at any time. I can do it in the car, I can do it really anywhere, working on the concentration on the breath. So whatever it is you do, work on the concentration first. Learn to really be steady with the breath, or with your image, or with the candle that you're looking at. And over time, it will kind of happen. Maybe you have a teacher that you can talk to and ask them questions, but over time you will notice that this breathing, once you can really stay with it, right? Let's say you count to 10 and start over again. Eventually you can do it without counting. Eventually you'll notice that there's a sense of just breathing. You don't have to look at it. But just as important, don't try to do that. You'll never succeed. The only way it can happen is on its own. All you can do is surrender and allow it to happen. Allow it to happen. So, back to the process of yoga, citta, vrtti, nirodha, of yoga is the place where the mind is no longer fluctuating. It's no longer going up and down and moving. Right? It's no longer wanting something to be different than it actually is. The practice is to sit down, maybe close your eyes. I prefer keeping the eyes slightly open so there's a little bit of light coming in, so I'm staying present. Following whatever it is you're concentrating on, and then from that place, just letting it be. Just really being in the place of complete awareness of whatever is happening. That will lead you to the meditation, to the Dhyana, and that will eventually, you will dissolve into Samadhi. You won't be able to create Samadhi on your own. Okay. Practice. One more little thing. I hear a lot of people tell me, well, I'm not good at this, so I can't do this. It reminds me of when I was 13, I think. I wanted to do breakdance. And I went to the first class and I was supposed to forward stand, forward fold, and my hands were like so far away from the floor. And I thought, well, I'm not good at this. So I kind of quit and I never really went back. I just did the easy stuff at home. And I wish somebody would have told me, or I wish I had the realization that it takes practice. Whatever you want to do takes practice. And you practice, you'll get it. The same with meditation. Don't get discouraged, right? Don't get discouraged. Stay with concentration, work on that, whether it's 1 day, 1 week, or 6 years. Eventually the other things will start to happen. And it's worth it. It really is. So hopefully you practice. Let me know what you practice below. Let me know how it's going, what questions you have. I'd be happy to offer other guidance and teachings here. So this is me sharing my experiences. Hopefully it'll give you a little bit of shortcuts or just kind of a hand on the way. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you soon. Namaste.